Well, in 1966, I was the president, and I had been invited as president to many associations. For instance, the Jewish court-attachés would have a bagel and lox breakfast at the Biltmore, and the Protestant lawyers had something else, and the Queens Columbian lawyers had a luncheon for the judges on a Saturday afternoon in one of the local restaurants. And I didn't think that was a great idea, so I thought that maybe if we did a luncheon for a judge, I presented that to my board, and they voted me down immediately. The next morning, I was on my way to work, and I ran into Sam DeFalco, who was our mentor. And he says, "How is the Colombian lawyers going?" I said, "Pretty good, Judge, but." He says, "What's the but?" So I told him about this idea I had of presenting an award to an Italian judge. He says, "Great, come upstairs." We went up to his chambers, and we went over the whole routine of what I thought should be done. And he was so enthused over the whole thing. And he says, "Why don't they want to go along with it?" I said, "Judge, I have no control over the board." He says, "You have some time?" I said, "Yeah, sit down." He went through his files, and he says, "If we have a luncheon, we should name it after the first Court of Appeals judge of Italian extraction, who was Rapallo. We didn't have another Italian judge until Schelleppi. That was almost 40 years. He asked the secretary, he says, "Fran, get on the phone, call the entire board. I want them in chambers at 2 o'clock. At that time, he was in a place where he would be able to give out patronage. So Fran made all the calls. At 2 o'clock, they were all sitting in the conference room, waiting until I walked in with the judge, and the rest is history. And that's how Rapallo started.
I remember when I first was told that I was going to receive the Rapallo Award by the then president, who came to my chambers. At the time, I was the presiding justice of the Appellate Division, 2nd Department. And I remember having this incredible feeling of, could this be possible? Could I really be included with all of the prior recipients who I had held in such high regard for so many years? A wonderful feeling that I think I will never, ever forget.
The day I received the Rapallo Award was one of the proudest days of my life. The thought that I was chosen to receive this prestigious award, considering all of the people who had preceded me in the legal profession and in government, United States Supreme Court justices, Court of Appeals judges, Appellate Division judges, governors, mayors, United States senators. To think that I was chosen, I was deeply flattered and deeply honored.
I started attending the Rapallo in the 70s, and little did I ever think that I would get that award. And I loved going to those luncheons. It was very exciting to me. I was not a native New Yorker. I came from a small town, so this was a very important sort of bonding experience with the Italian-American community for me. And the recognition, to be among a group of recipients that included 2 governors, and a mayor, and a United States Supreme Court justice, Attorney General of the United States. That's pretty big stuff. I have undying gratitude for being honored in that way.
And the Rapallo Awards dinner in 1994 was an incredible event for me and for my family. And they were there to see the contributions of so many important and significant lawyers and judges, and I am eternally grateful to the Italian-American lawyers who made that possible.
Back in 1980, when I was president, I took for the first time to the Rapallo luncheon my son Arthur, who was then 12, and my daughter Lori, who was then 9. And I could picture in my mind right now the expression on their faces and how their eyes widened when they gazed up at the magnificent grandeur of the grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria.
And I remember looking up. I was in awe of the sheer size of the room, but I remember looking up and seeing people seated on the balcony above the main floor, and I just never conceived. I'd never seen anything like that or conceived that it could even exist.
And I'll never forget walking into the Waldorf Astoria, into the Grand Ballroom, and seeing the pageantry and the number of important people and dignitaries that were on the dais, and for me it was an amazing scenario.
When we picked the dais, we had agreed at the day one that the only people who would sit on the dais would be judges of Italian extraction, Supreme Court or better.
And you know, to be up on the dais is a big deal for me. There, I always looked at that dais with great admiration.
I remember standing in the back of the room and being in awe when Justice Angela Mazzarelli got the award, at seeing Mario Cuomo on the dais and Geraldine Ferraro on the dais, and just, it was a very proud moment. I was probably in my early 30s, late 20s, and I was very proud at that moment to be in the Italian American legal community.
And I was always impressed by the recipients and by the dais, which was basically filled with honored guests and prior award winners. And together with the setting of the Waldorf Astoria, probably one of the most famous hotels in the world, I thought that this was an extraordinary honor. I will never, ever forget that day.
Incredible experience, especially when you walk into the Grand Ballroom and it is filled with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people. And then there is this multi-tiered dais, and your name is called and you walk up, and it is almost like an outer body experience. You feel special, you also feel nervous, and you say to yourself, could this possibly be happening to me in my lifetime?
These people who are sitting on the dais consider the Colombian lawyers an organization they want to be affiliated with, an organization that they respect and they admire. We had 2 police commissioners called and said, I must be there, and I sit next to Sam DeFalco because he's my friend. I said, you come, you can sit in the audience, but you're not on the dais.
You see that the Rapallo not only honored local judges and local Italian American attorneys, but figures like Mario Cuomo and Mayor Giuliani and Justice Scalia and Justice Alito. And for young attorneys of Italian American heritage to be exposed to these important people is a great opportunity for them, and it allows us all to have great pride in what we do and where we came from.
Rapallo was the kind of role model and ideal that I think we all tried to aspire to and to become part of.
And you kind of feel at home. I feel at home. I mean, I know many of the people there I know for 30 years or more. So as a total aside, Marianne, you know, I met my husband at the Colombian Lawyers.
Well, it's been special not only for me personally in my professional capacity, but for my family, my wife Marianne, my son Arthur, and daughter Lori. It has been a personal, exquisite experience to participate in the various functions of the Colombian Lawyers Association.
Well, Charles Rapallo was one of the founders of the Association of the Bar, a very bright young man. And when they founded the Court of Appeals, he was one of the founding members.
Organizations that give out awards to whether it's individuals of Italian American descent or any descent, and put forth their best and their brightest and people that they can be proud of, shows the entire legal community that we are all in this together, and there are special people who should be recognized throughout our legal system.
It's a way to show the society how much the community has accomplished, I think. I'm very proud of my Italian background, very proud.
When I joined the association, it was like a fraternity for me, where we had each one help each other. That was really what we looked forward to. It was a social event and also an educational event for us. We helped each other. Anyone had a problem, they would come to the party, who we would seek out someone who was involved in that field, and they would help each other.
I remember on my 50th birthday, a number of us having fun. And that's important in life, having fun while you're still a professional and doing your work.
And to this day, I still have that feeling. I'll walk into that room and I'll feel the energy of everyone around, and although I'm not as young anymore as I was then, it still has that impact on me, and I think it's very special. I think what the Colombian Lawyers Associations in general try to do is allow us to not only be aware, but to be proud of our Italian-American heritage.
But when I became a lawyer, the Italians were not really that well accepted. I mean, there was a lot of prejudice against us, and that was one of the reasons why Colombian Lawyers was formed. We were a mutual aid society, so that if we had a problem, you could resolve it among ourselves. We would act like big brothers to each other.
With all of the Italian-American lawyers who preceded me, all of the Italian-American legislators, all of the Italian-Americans whose reputations for fairness and justice were established in the community, and they made it possible.
I wish to extend a special thanks to Phil Greco, because largely through his efforts, the Rapallo luncheon came into fruition, and I hope that we've met with his expectations and those of us who have worked hard to keep it a success for all these years, because it does demonstrate the best of what those of the Italian heritage have to offer. So thank you, Phil, from the bottom of my heart, because I fully appreciate what you've done for all of us.
So not only do I have to thank the Colombian Lawyers Association of the First Department for the wonderful distinction and great honor of the Rapallo, but I have to thank them for my husband too, right?
And hopefully the next generations will carry on this tradition. Long live Rapallo.
On behalf of myself, and I am sure on behalf of all 50 recipients of the Rapallo Award, I'd like to just say a heartfelt thanks to all of the Colombian lawyers for holding us in such high regard and remembering us and thinking of us.
And it'll continue as long as we do a good job with Rapallo and put our best foot forward. That's what Rapallo is all about, putting our best foot forward so they knew who we were.